So, I'm going to start off by telling you about a gentleman named Dave. Because really, this case, while it doesn't revolve around Dave, it is because of Dave. So, Dave Krupa moved to Omaha, Nebraska in 2012 after taking a job managing an auto repair shop. At this time in his life, he was separated from his longtime girlfriend, a woman named Aimee Flora, and the two of them had 2 children, and it was really kind of Dave's first time alone in a really long time. So he really said that he just didn't know how to get back into the dating pool, as many of us have experienced. So he kind of felt rusty, and he thought that online dating was the way to go for him. And I'm sure that he is regretting that now. So he signed up for a couple different dating sites, and the first person that he met through one of them was a woman named Shannon Elizabeth Golyar. Now, Shannon went by Liz, so I will be calling her Liz throughout the rest of this video. And Dave thought Liz was really pretty, and he was immediately attracted to her, so the two of them set up a date to meet in person. And when they met up, Liz told him she was also a single mother with 2 kids, and her kids were about the same age as his kids. So the two of them went on a couple of dates, and by the 4th date, Dave said that their relationship escalated and they started sleeping together. But Dave said he was really upfront with Liz. He didn't want to be tied down already. He had just gotten out of this long-term relationship with Aimee, and he kind of wanted to date around. And Liz was like, yeah, that's totally cool, me too. I just want to take care of my kids and, date casually if possible. So Liz and Dave dated for around 6 months when Dave was at work, and an extremely attractive woman came in to his auto repair shop. This was Cari Farver. She was also a single mom who had brought in her Ford Explorer for some maintenance. Dave knew that there was an immediate connection. He said when we looked at each other, there was like sparks. She's showing me something inside of her car, and the 2 of us are standing there. We're very close, and there is immediately like some tension going on. Now, by all accounts that I could find, Cari, it might be Cari, but I have a friend named Cari, so I keep slipping that way. So Cari was vivacious and warm, according to friends and family. I swear I looked it up, but it was like a month ago. You notice that when Cari walked into a room, she had this laugh, she had this smile, and she just lit up the room. You couldn't help but notice her. Her friend said you were just drawn to her, and Dave was too. So he asks Cari out, and the 2 of them immediately just hit it off. It is crazy. So he invites her back to his apartment after dinner on their first date, and she says yes. But he kind of told her, and she told him, they weren't really looking for anything serious. So Dave really felt like he hit the jackpot with Cari. He was like, yes, she's gorgeous, there's all this excitement, and she doesn't want anything serious. repercussions for all 3 of the people involved in this case. Now, Dave was so quickly taken with Cari that she was tasked this huge project at work. He offered to let her stay with him even though they had just met. She worked as a computer programmer, and her office was like right around the corner from where Dave lived, where she lived like over an hour away. So on the morning of November 13th, 2012, Dave said he got up, he got ready for work. He kissed Cari on the way out and then told her he would see her later on that evening. And then around mid-morning, Dave gets like this weird text on his phone from Cari, and it says, "I think we should move in together," which was pretty weird and kind of left field because the 2 of them had already discussed that that was not happening. Like, she was just staying at his apartment for this project so she didn't have to drive the hour-long commute back and forth. So Dave texted her back, and I don't have the exact texts here, but he basically said, no, like, I'm not really interested in that. We talked about this. And Cari responds almost immediately, and she says, "Fine, I hate you. I'm dating someone else, and I don't want to see you anymore, so you should just go away." Now me, I would have got pretty offended at this. Like, look, you're in my apartment, you go away. But Dave was really kind of blown away. There was a lot of profanity in this text message, he said, and he just didn't know what to think because this wasn't the Cari that he knew. And when he got home that night, she was gone. There was like no trace she had been there at all. So he kind of went, oh, that sucks, but I guess it wasn't meant to be, right? Nearly 2 days pass when Dave's phone starts blowing up with text messages in which Cari just loses it. "I hate you. You ruined my life. You're a terrible person." And Dave was like, whoa, like, I don't need this. Maybe I dodged a bullet, you know? So Cari's mother, a woman named Nancy, says that Cari was diagnosed with depression in her late 20s, a few years after having her son Max, and that she was eventually diagnosed with bipolar disorder. She had been seeing therapists, and she took her medication regularly. Nancy said there were a couple of times because, like most people, okay, she didn't like the way the medication made her feel, so she would stop taking it. She said that she felt numb, but she always resumed taking it because she knew that it helped her. I don't think that's relevant in this case at all, but I wanted to mention it to you. Having family members with bipolar disorder, I feel like I understand it in a way that I've seen the difference between you're on the medicine and you could feel numb, and then you're not on the medicine yes, when bipolar people stop taking their medicine, they can have really erratic behavior, but that does not mean that this case should not be taken seriously. But Nancy says that exact thing. She could not get the police to help her. The sheriff's office said that they take all missing people reports seriously, no matter what the circumstances surrounding them. The police department said the available evidence during the initial investigation was inconclusive, but of course, we didn't give up. Meanwhile, Dave said he continued to receive hundreds of harassing text messages and emails from Cari. "I will do whatever I can to make you suffer," one of the messages read. Another one said, "We belong together, Dave, and you know it." He said most of the messages focused on Liz, the other woman he was dating, the one that they crossed paths when Cari was leaving his apartment. Liz told him, because they're still casually dating, right? She's also getting harassing text messages and emails. One day, Dave said she called him and said that her garage had been broken into and vandalized. Upon pulling into the garage, she found that someone had written "whore" from Dave on the inside in spray paint, which I think is terrible. Like, come on. Liz reported the incident to the Omaha police in late November of 2012, so it's not even been like a month. As the weeks went by, Cari continued to miss more family events. Her own birthday, her son's birthday, Thanksgiving, and even her father's funeral. Nancy was absolutely convinced that something was wrong. She said that she was still getting texts from Cari, and she begged her daughter to call her so she could hear her voice, but Cari never did. She said that Max was also starting to get messages from his mom saying she was going to Kansas and she was gonna come to get him, but she just never showed up. Nancy said that these texts started to get mean and angry, saying I wasn't a good mother and I was controlling, and she noticed that oftentimes the texts could be full of these grammatical and punctuation errors, as well as spelling mistakes, which was really out of character for her daughter, who was a stickler for punctuation and spelling. For Dave, his harassment wasn't over either, and it wasn't just text messages and emails. He was also, being stalked. On one occasion, he said, "I was sitting in my lazy boy with my feet up, watching TV, trying to relax. It's nighttime and I get a text and it says, 'I see you. You're sitting in your chair with your feet propped up, wearing a blue shirt.'" And these things were all true, which he lives in an apartment building, so that really creeped me out. Not to say he doesn't have windows, but what? Okay. Now, in January of 2023, almost 2 months after Cari left Dave's apartment and the harassment had begun, Dave is returning home from work when he notices a familiar car in a nearby parking lot. And as he gets closer, he realizes this is Cari's Ford Explorer. He'd worked on it, so he was really familiar with it. So he takes a photo of it and a photo of the license plate, and he sends it to the Omaha police. At this point, he's frustrated, and he really just wants this girl to leave him alone, no matter how much chemistry they had or whatever. And remember, she's been missing, right? So the police searched the car, and they were only able to find a single fingerprint on a container of breath mints devastated by this. She had gotten her hopes up, and then it's just dashed again, and she just really started feeling like someone was playing games with them. 6 months into Cari's disappearance, Max, her son, decides to message his mother on Facebook just to see what would happen. And she messaged him back, and it said, "Hey little man, how are you?" Max was a smart kid, and he asked his mom to answer 3 questions to prove that it was really her. What his middle name was, what the name of their first dog was, and what was his best friend's name. And Cari never responded. Now, during all this time, Dave and Liz, who were still seeing each other pretty casually, were still getting hostile, nasty text messages. It was actually extremely common for us to be hanging out on the couch, watching TV or something, and both of our phones would start blowing up with emails and text messages from Cari, Dave said. At one point, Dave said he had gotten an email from Cari threatening to kill Liz, and it included a photo of a woman tied up in the trunk of a car. So Dave called Liz, panicking, and Liz is like, "No, I'm fine, I'm not in somebody's trunk. I answered the phone, didn't I?" Later, Dave said Cari sent him a link to a fake obituary for Liz. So it's been almost a year. It is August 17th of 2013, and Liz calls Dave in a panic. Now, the 2 of them had bonded over these terrible, threatening text messages and this harassment from Cari, but now things had seemingly escalated. Liz said, "My house is on fire, and my pets are inside." Liz had received a text from Cari's number that read, "I'm not lying. I set that nasty house on fire, and I hope she and her kids die in it. Can you imagine?" Fire investigators believe that it was arson, and Liz told the police she suspected Cari was the culprit. Dave said by this point, he was so paranoid that he went out and he got a gun. He bought a 9mm Smith & Wesson pistol. Terrifying things just kept happening to him. At one point, the auto shop where he worked was vandalized. In January of 2014, Dave said he was with his high school friend named Heather in his apartment when Heather said she watched his cell phone just blow up with messages, and later that she heard someone jiggling the front door handle trying to get into Dave's apartment. And when the 2 of them were in bed that night, she said that a brick was thrown through his window. Dave's longtime ex-girlfriend and the mother of his children, Aimee, also got threatening text messages from Cari. It wasn't just Dave and Liz anymore. It kind of snowballed into them and all of the people around them. Cari was just out for everyone. So by spring of 2015, it had been 2.5 years since anyone had seen Cari, and yet this harassment of all of these people was still steadily continuing. Detectives Ryan Avis and Jim Doty of the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office in Council Bluffs, Iowa, had never worked on the case, but they had of course heard about it in their office. They were so intrigued by Cari's mysterious disappearance that they volunteered to take this case on, and the 2 detectives decided to approach the case from different angles. Jim's gonna work it like she's dead, and I'm gonna work it like she's alive. I'm gonna try and prove in every way that I can that she's still out there, and he's gonna prove, or try to prove, that she's not, Avis said. So the 2 of them start from the very, very beginning. They go back through the original case file. And yes, detectives were aware of her diagnosis, but they didn't think that it had anything to do a sudden, she's the focus of harassment, he said. Her name was all over the reports. So to me, there is something with Liz. She was definitely a person of interest. The only forms of communication anyone had received from Cari were electronic. So Dodie and Avis asked their colleague Anthony Kava, a digital forensics administrator at the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office, for help. Both Dave and Liz agreed to have the contents of their phones downloaded in 2013 for the initial group of investigators. The content was included in the original case file, and Kava started connecting the dots. We knew that these messages don't really seem to be coming from Cari, or the imposter who was pretending to be Cari, sent Dave 15,000 email messages over a 3-year span, and upwards of 25,000 to 50,000 texts altogether, which is absolutely crazy to me. I would have changed my number. Whoever was pretending to be Cari got more and more sophisticated in what they were doing, trying to hide their IP address, trying to hide their real identity, he said. Investigators found a photo of Cari's Ford Explorer in Liz's phone dump, which included metadata that showed the photo had been taken about a month before police recovered her vehicle. Somehow Liz knew where Cari's vehicle was before law enforcement even did, Dodie said. Another thing we found on the phone download was that there were 6 calls made to Cari's residence, and it was using the star 67 prefix to disguise the number. So, in the United States, I don't even know if it's still true because I do not have a home phone, you could dial star 67 before you called someone to hide your number and make it so they couldn't use the star 69 feature to call you back, right? I honestly have no idea if that's still in effect. Someone tell me if it is. Alright, so Liz is calling Cari 6 times, and this really didn't make sense to the police because she said she'd only met her like passing through a hallway. So, number 1, how did she get her number? And number 2, why is she investigators asked if they could download the contents of her phone so they could review the messages, and Liz signed the consent form and turned her phone right over. Avis said that he couldn't believe that she agreed to it. Getting access to the information on Liz's phone was a pretty important moment in this investigation. During their conversation, Avis said Liz mentioned she knew about Dave's gun, which she correctly identified as a 9mm Smith & Wesson, was missing, and she thought that Aimee Flora had stolen it. She realized that she probably shouldn't have known these details about this gun, and any future questions I asked about it, she was really vague with her answers, Avis said. In yet another bizarre twist, the next day, Liz called 911, claiming that she had been shot in the leg walking alone at night in Big Lake Park in Council Bluffs. Investigators said Liz at first claimed she didn't know who had shot her, and then she later said that she thought it was Aimee. I found it highly suspicious that the day before she felt the need to tell me that she knew Dave's gun had been stolen, and it was less than 24 hours later, and she shot, Avis said. It was pretty quickly determined that Liz had shot herself, most likely. Police said that Aimee was cleared that very same evening. Meanwhile, Kava got to work sifting through the contents of Liz's cell phone after the second download. He discovered Liz had registered upwards of 20 or 30 fake email addresses, all of which had some variation of Cari's name. He also discovered that Liz was using an app which allowed her to schedule future messages. This explained how she could be sitting with Dave and her phone would blow up and get bombarded with messages, and his as well. She was able to send messages pretending to be Cari, and they would arrive while she was sitting there. And from Dave's point of view, Liz couldn't have sent it because she was sitting right next to him the whole time, right? Kava estimated Liz must have spent about 40 to 50 hours a week impersonating Cari. This seemed to be a full-time occupation for her, trying to stalk people and send them messages, he said. So Dodie and Avis bring Liz in for an interview 2 weeks after she was shot. At this time, they said Liz kept pushing them to investigate Aimee and had no idea that she herself was their main suspect in Cari's disappearance. Dodie and Avis came up with a plan. They said they were going to tell Liz that they believed her story that Aimee had shot her, and that they wanted Liz's help to get Aimee to incriminate herself. They asked Liz to reach out to Aimee and see if she would tell her anything about what happened to Cari. Of course, the detectives knew that Aimee had nothing to do with Cari's disappearance or the threatening messages that had been sent for years. But their plan was smart, and Liz was not smart. Their plan worked. They said that Liz almost immediately fabricated emails she said were from Aimee Flora. We started receiving messages that she said were from Aimee, where Aimee confesses to shooting Liz at Big Lake Park, Dodie said. He and Avis continued to press Liz to ask Aimee, who they knew to be Liz, for details about Cari's death, and a few days later, Liz did exactly that. They said she forwarded an email to them that was supposedly from Aimee, saying she had stabbed Cari 3 or 4 times and stuffed her body into a garbage bag. Dodie said these details were bone-chilling because they were explicitly graphic. As time went on, the investigators said Liz grew increasingly upset that they had not arrested Aimee. Dodie explained to her that he needed more information that only the killer would know. And within hours, they had more confession emails from Aimee. The emails included Cari had been stabbed to death in her own car. These emails gave us Cari's vehicle as a crime scene, Dodie said, and what we wanted to do was go back and look at the vehicle to determine confession emails from Aimee. Now, I said she wasn't smart, but Liz denied knowing anything, and she claimed she didn't even have internet service. But while she was being interrogated, Dodie and Avis had gotten a search warrant for her apartment. Inside, they found some of Cari's possessions, including a digital camera and a camcorder, which they believed Liz had stolen from her house. On the camcorder, they found a video of Cari talking about how someone had vandalized her car, and it was date-stamped 2 days before she disappeared. On December 22nd, 2016, Liz was arrested and charged with first-degree murder. Douglas County Attorney Brenda Beadle, who prosecuted the case, said this was by far the most difficult case I have ever tried. Most homicides are dark. This one was bizarre, to the point where it would take some convincing to make somebody believe it actually happened, she said. There's no way someone would let their dog die in a fire that they started. There's no way that someone would shoot themselves in the leg. Femur. Liz's defense attorney, James Martin Davis, requested a waived jury trial in the favor of a bench trial, meaning that the judge would decide the case, not the jury. Not only was there no body, no real crime scene, there was no murder weapon, there was no proof that she even died, Martin said. We waived the jury trial to move it up so I could try this case, hopefully before they found a body. And then, a few months before the trial was set to begin in 2017, Dave remembered that he had this tablet in storage, and he turns it over to investigators. On the tablet, Kava discovered a micro SD memory card that had also been in Liz's phone around the time of the murder. The SD card had thousands of deleted messages, all of which he was able to recover. I came to a photo that no one had seen before, Kava said. I wasn't sure what I was looking at first, but it turned out to be a human foot with a tattoo on it. The tattoo was of the Chinese symbol for the word mother, and it was the same one that Cari had on her foot. It was shocking, Kava said. It made me realize Liz had killed Cari, and she'd been taking photos of her body. At the trial, Beadle painted Liz as diabolical and cruel, who had killed Cari and spent years violently harassing other people. Liz's defense attorney argued that all of the evidence from the state was circumstantial, and at one point Liz had been considered a victim in all of this. And there still wasn't a body, so they couldn't prove anything. In 2017, Judge Timothy Burns found Liz guilty of first-degree murder and sentenced her to life in prison. During his ruling, Burns said Cari did not voluntarily disappear and drop off the face of the earth. Very sadly, she was murdered. In a statement to ABC News, the Omaha Police Department said, the unusual nature of this case and the great lengths that Liz Collier went to hide this homicide undoubtedly perplexed everyone involved. The successful investigation between the Omaha Police Department and the Pottawatomie County Sheriff's Office resulted in the successful prosecution of Liz Collier and brought to life an extreme level of deception that law enforcement rarely encounters. Liz remains at the Nebraska Correctional Facility for Women. To this day, she maintains her innocence and claims that Cari's real killer is still out there. Author Leslie Rule said she received letters from Liz while she was behind bars, one of which said, I will not stop fighting until I'm set free and they find the right person. Rule said she obviously does not take responsibility hopes of associating something positive with her memory, Kava said. When asked how she wanted her daughter to be remembered, Nancy said, as the fun-loving, talented, smart woman she was. Cari was only 37 when she died, Nancy said. If I could talk to her right now, I'd say, I love you. I'm so glad you're in my life. You have a beautiful son who's got a wonderful life coming, and I miss you terribly. I couldn't find any information about whether or not they actually found her anywhere. And that sucks. Anyway, this case was so bizarre for me to research. Like, the twists just kept coming, and I was like, what is happening? Now, I myself have been a victim of domestic violence, and y'all know I call him Captain Crazy Face for a reason. He did the same thing to me. Thousands of messages a day, emails, everything. He would get my phone number even if I changed it and things like that. Luckily, it slacked off. It didn't last nearly as long as this did, but I cannot believe that, number one, Liz did this just strictly out of jealousy. First of all, they've been dating like 6 months, and Dave said he wanted to keep it casual, totally told her he was going to be dating other people, and you met her for like 10 seconds, and it seems to me, like, just in this case alone, I read about him sleeping with 4 different girls, so he's kind of a bit of a player. Whatever, you do you, boo, do your thing, but this guy was never going to get serious about you, and you harassing him and then making a girl he's been dating for like 2 weeks disappear. Like, you killed her for nothing. Oh, it makes me so furious. And then for you to say you're innocent, like, girl, you are not innocent. They proved you did this. You need to beep back the bus up on your crazy train, Liz, and just admit to everything and tell people where she is so that her family can lay her to rest. Like, come on. Oh, I cannot. So, like I said, I do not believe that Cari's bipolar diagnosis had anything to do with this case, but they kept bringing it up, so I wanted to mention it. I hate it. She